Welcome back to Project Joy Live. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas. Today is Monday, May 9th, 2022, and I'm very excited to welcome back another guest today. But I want to remind you, you can join our Discord server to chat with other fans, meet past guests and hosts from the Breakthrough Show Network. Just go to bit.ly/Discord Breakthrough, bit.ly/Discord Breakthrough. And any of my friends that are joining us for our Pomodoro work session, I will be there right after the episode this morning to open that up for you guys today. So get ready for that. You can also join our Breakthrough Show Network text community for show notifications, insider info, and special offers. Just text the word breakthrough to 256-685-7092 in the US, Canada, and Puerto Rico. And we appreciate all of our text community members as well. So last Monday, we dove into the topic of mattering with our special guest, Shifra, and she's back today with some more in case you forgot somehow over the weekend. She is the author of Dare to Matter. She is an experienced and accomplished speaker and radio host. And I personally love that every time she speaks, she creates such a warm, inviting environment to explore. So let's welcome her back to the show now. Welcome back, Shifra.
Jessica, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you again today.
It's good to see you. We've talked about stray socks, lost socks, butterscotch brownies. I mean, these are wonderful things to talk about.
These are necessary topics.
Wow. Where do those socks go? I really think they just live in some obscure corner of a fitted sheet that is in the back of the closet. And in about 10 years, you take it out when you need that sheet and it's like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Absolutely. Does it matter that we can't find these socks?
Maybe it matters to somebody who doesn't have another sock to wear and is going with one sock. I don't know.
You know what I think happens here with us is, so I'm a barefoot girl now because it's so hot here all the time. And then I also love to go outside and put my bare feet on the ground and I love earthing and grounding and all of that. And so I just think the socks don't matter as much to me.
Yeah. I actually like doing laundry. That's the one thing I like to do is to fold laundry.
Really?
I do. It's the only thing out of all the chores that one could possibly choose to like or not like. It's the folding of the laundry. I actually talk about that in my book, why that matters to me. But we get ahead of ourselves. Let's talk a moment about Mother's Day.
Yes.
Because I like to share, maybe this is a little weird and I shouldn't admit it, but one of my daughters is still lives in the house, and we went to the store, and what we decided was that we would look at cards together for me and decide which ones, if we were buying cards, which ones I would like to receive.
Wow.
So that's what we did. And we decided and then my daughter said, well, what about for my daughter-in-law? She saw a card for a daughter-in-law, and I read the card. I'm like, that's a great idea. That I want to give my daughter-in-law a card. I don't really want a card. And then, but at night, my daughter did give me a card. I'm not sure when she bought it because she didn't buy it with me. And it was a most distinctive card. And I can't find it on my desk, but when you opened it, you could scan it with your phone. And when I did, she had made a little video of pictures of my kids. So again, you open the card, there was some type of scannable item there, and I was able to open up a video that she put together of pictures. So
Stop it! That is so cute.
If I can find it before the end of today, I'll show it to you. So that's what we did, yeah. And wow. I was thinking about it because in the book, there is a chapter on mothering and mattering as a mother. And of course, one day a year affirms what we know every day of the year, which is that mothers do, in fact, more than matter. Right? They power the world. And there's one quote I just want to read to you, which is one of, the most instructive, I think, about mothering. And that is, let's see, here it is. Well, two things. Number one, mothering is not a gender. It is a spirit. Because I talk about how my husband really mothered our children, and modeled many times for me how to do that. And also, mothers are at their best when they can hold expansive hope and vision for their children until their children grow into their better selves. So we never stop being a mother. Even when our children are growing and grown and have children of their own, we're still mothering in some capacity. We're still showing up in their lives as their mothers.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you said mothering as a spirit, because I do think that there are obviously so many people in the world that don't have children, that aren't women, and they have that those mothering qualities, that mothering spirit for sure. And I think that's an opportunity. I see a lot of posts on Mother's Day about people being upset about how it's Mother's Day because they have trauma of some kind where their own biological mothers are concerned. And it's challenging because it's, we go through these national holidays and remembrances and all of that on this show all of the time. And we don't all fit in all of them. Some people really could be celebrating absolutely the lost sock day today. And other people, we think it's funny, or we just don't care, or whatever. And so not every holiday, it might be something that applies to us, but we have the opportunity to make it what we want it to be. I think any holiday, right?
You could always celebrate something about somewhere, something. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Donnell is here this morning. Good morning, Donnell. It is good to see you today. Make sure you guys check in and say hi if you are joining us this morning. So we've been talking about mattering. And last Monday, we talked about what is mattering. We had a wonderful conversation. But if you want to quickly recap that, what is mattering for everybody if they missed last week, so that then we can get into our topic today.
We talked about mattering. I actually said I had a definition that I have not shared yet. It's at the end of the book. So perhaps at the end of this series.
Yes.
But mattering is not something that we can buy or that we can borrow long term. It is something we have to create, and we create it in bits and pieces as we move through our lives. So it's not one thing, and it's also not external to us. We choose things externally based on our internal barometer. If we want to have joy, if we are choosing things externally for their mattering that are not connected to our inner, that's going to create a lot of disturbance in our lives for ourselves and for others. So that's the idea. Matching that to our internal barometer. Then that's where all the mattering can happen. And we also spoke about that the magic of mattering is that when we matter and we make choices that show us what matter to us, that we allow that spirit of mattering to others as well.
I love how it's a layered look. It's layered, and it's also dependent on the person. And I think that's the biggest take home for me, is that it varies depending on the person. So today we're going to talk about how does our mattering affect how we show up in our lives. And I shared at the beginning of the show that, when we start talking about this idea of mattering, like so many other rabbit hole topics that we've talked about on this show before, a lot of people come into it and say, okay, but what does it matter that we're even talking about this? And I think this is one of those things that it can affect how we show up in our lives. So let's dive into this today.
Right. So how does mattering affect how we show up? So let's think about this a minute. Have you ever been somewhere where you were invited to come and to show up on very specific terms? Maybe you had to wear something specific. Maybe you had to speak in a particular way or not say certain things. There were conditions put on it. As opposed to maybe being invited somewhere where you felt extremely comfortable and you could be who you really are. How does that feel to be in a space, into those different spaces? if you are invited into a place and you matter, who do you become? How do you act? How do you feel? What are you able to bring outside? What are you able to offer others when you're in a certain space versus another? Let's think about that. We've all been in places where we've been exceptionally comfortable, and we know that we're valued for just how we show up, who we are. And there's nothing we have to do, say, be, or don't say, or don't do to deserve our space there. And what happens when we're in that space? Number one, it is safe. Number two, it is celebratory. And watch who we are. All of a sudden, we have the capacity, we have the access to a fuller range of who we are and our abilities, right? Sometimes we can think more clearly. We can express ourselves more clearly. As opposed to being in an environment where we're shut down to some degree. And that doesn't feel good. And it certainly doesn't evoke the best and brightest in us. So it does make a difference. Our mattering affects how we show up. If we don't wake up in the morning and feel that there's a piece of this day that we can inhabit fully, which is a cause for great joy, then that's a very different kind of waking up to the world than when we wake up and there's a world waiting for us to step into, and we feel it and we engage with it and we step into it. Those are very different. So it very much does matter that we try to create each day into something that we want to step into. We don't always get the choice. Sometimes we have to show up in places where we would rather not. But those are choices that we make, and they matter in a different way. We may not want to show up into a friend's life who needs us at that moment. Maybe it's inconvenient for us. Maybe we just rather do something else. But if that friend matters to us and we want to demonstrate that, then we're making a choice. And we will bear the discomfort. And, so I think that there are a few rules or a few guidelines that we can talk about. But first, let me hear some comment from you.
Yes, absolutely. So good morning, Amanda. It's good to see you here this morning. Glad you are here to join us for our series again this week. And I was thinking about, my communities that I've run before, and even with the Breakthrough Show Network, when we have our host meeting every last Friday of the month, all of us as hosts get together and, just go over different things. And I always wanted it to be more of a community atmosphere rather than here's me as the creator of the network telling you what you need to do today. That's just not, I wanted it to be very open. And so I always open the floor and say, what do you guys want to talk about? What do you want to share? And there have been times when no one has said anything. And it's just like crickets, and I get uncomfortable. I'm like, is there really nothing? But as I'm thinking about this now, perhaps in these situations, whether it's with that meeting or other times that I've held these spaces before, that maybe the people that have been there have been to other places where they have shared and it hasn't mattered. They felt like it hasn't mattered. So maybe they don't want to share again. So just something that I've considered as you were sharing about that, Shifra.
There's so much brilliance inside of everybody. And when they're allowed to be who they are, there's no telling there's no telling what it's going to look like and sound like. And it really is very connected to mothering, because if we can create that space for our children, then I can tell, a lot of times I can tell when I speak to people who was well mothered, whatever that means, but who was given the space to be who they are and not shut down. And I often wonder, and we talked about this a little bit last week, what it would have been like for me personally to be in a space like that growing up. Instead of living in conscious pushback and against the messages of not mattering, who would I be? What would I be doing? What would I be saying? I doubt I would have written this book, right? Because that's not where I was pushed to go. But our experiences do push us to go to certain places. We may not have chosen them. As I said, I didn't choose this story. I only chose to tell it. And I do think that's part of the divine plan. I think instead of, staying tied up in a very negative energy about it, you take it and you leverage it and you say, okay, if I was put in this space, then, and this is where the pain is the prize. Keep your eyes on the pain, because that is very often where a lot of your prize is. And it was destined that way. It was, the challenges are not in the way they lead it. They're there for a reason. So I'm not saying we should purposely go look for suffering. You won't ever hear me say that. And you won't ever hear me say to stay in suffering a moment longer than you need to. I don't believe in that. However, like I had this discussion with somebody else on a different podcast about COVID. And after 2 years of COVID, are we different people? Has that divinely ordained challenge in this world, has it gotten into our bones? We shifted in so many ways, in good ways. Are we shifted sufficiently that now we can call it our own and move forward as different people? So again, don't ever stay in suffering a moment longer than you need to, or than is asked of you. But while we are in a situation, get from it everything you can. Learn from it, grow from it, and move on.
Yeah. I love that. And I wrote down when you said, I didn't choose this story, but I chose to tell it. I love that as well. Amanda was saying before, I just recovered from this. I think she was talking about, feeling like you get up and you have that in the morning and have that place to matter. I couldn't for a while wake up and just feel happy, but I was determined, as long as you want it, anything is possible. Thank you for sharing that, Amanda. And then she also said, yes, I let go of the wall I built because I was forced to deal with my past. That's another fun time down the rabbit hole when we reflect, right?
Yeah, I think that, there's a balance, like in everything. We have to take the moments to reflect so that they can propel us forward. And when we can take those moments to connect the dots, I call that process connecting the dots, we can come up with some very meaningful and purposeful direction in our lives. Sometimes we use the help of therapists. I certainly did, and I write about that in the book. But often it's ourselves. It's just staying inside, connecting the dots, seeing how things merge for us, and then beginning to make sense out of the different pieces. One of the guidelines I'd like to put forth is sometimes we have to unlearn some of the stuff we've been taught. And one of those things is, I think some of us are taught, either knowingly or unwittingly, a hopelessness, and a powerlessness. And they keep us very stuck. So we actually have to unlearn it in what I call learned hopefulness. We have to learn how to be hopeful. We have to learn how to get up in the morning and say, there is hope in this day. I can bring something to this day, and this day will bring something to me, and it will matter. It's not always so natural to wake up with that. We have to sometimes really think it through and make a choice around it. And one of the biggest guidelines around all of that is what I taught my children. I did not have a lot of rules raising my children. I'm not a big rule person. I couldn't, even if I made the rules, even if I could figure out the rules, I couldn't enforce them. So what's the point? Like, they knew very well, I'd say, if you don't do that, then So what should be your punishment? Like I would ask them. I had no idea. But one rule we had was we do not compare one to the other. Mm-hmm. The minute we begin to compare is the minute we lose every hope, every dream, every bit of brightness about us. It dulls everything about us as soon as we compare. And by the way, that's a very hard thing because human beings seem wired to compare. Right? We have our senses, we take things in, and then we automatically make judgments and discernments and distinctions, which is what we should do, but where they count. And comparing and competing is a very dangerous illusion. And it is what I call an emotional idol. And if I don't smash that emotional idol amongst some other idols that I have, it will destroy me. It's really that simple. It's really that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited because that specific topic that you mentioned, we're actually going to be talking about the final week of our series here. So make sure you stay tuned for that, you guys. The last Monday in May, we'll be talking about diving into the emotional idol part of this as well. Amanda said it's almost like they make us stop dreaming. As you were talking about different things, when I started the Breakthrough Show, it was something for me to do at the time. It was, I had written in a book that became a bestseller, and I had done some coaching, but wasn't really like, I wasn't married to it. I enjoy it, but I'm an extremely empathetic person. And it was difficult for me to balance the emotions of the 8 of us in the house and then clients and then, and it was just a lot. So when I realized at that time how much I loved having conversations with people, and that was a great way to be able to reach people through storytelling. And I did the show because it mattered to me, because it was something, sharing these stories and sharing other people's stories mattered. And very back in the beginning, so this was 2018 when we were talking about this, and I would meet other people about, and they would ask me, why are you doing the show? And immediately go into the same questions that annoy the daylights out of me today, because I think they're personal, but how are you monetizing? And what is this leading to? And which are valid questions, but it's like, it occurs to me that it's when I have these conversations with people, it's never enough for something to just matter to you. Like if you say it just matters to me to do this, they don't understand that. It's like, but how are you going to do this? And what is it leading to? And how are you going to make money? And it's like, can it just matter? Is that okay, Shifra? Can something just matter to us? And I feel like it almost, I bring this up because of what Amanda said. It's almost like it stops us. And it's like, is it enough for it to just matter?
Our children can be very different one from the other, and somehow they seem to all matter to us. And even if they have a different set of talents and a different set of challenges too. I was one of those children who was a very challenging child, and I was put in a challenging position in my family, and I was very different than my parents. And we talked a little bit about this. They were these pragmatic, purpose-driven people, and I'm this dreamy, imaginative, fearful child who they have no time to talk to. And so it's a very lonely existence. We're going to feel alone sometimes in standing in the spaces that we feel we need to be whole. That's what it is to be part of the human race. Not everyone's going to get us. Not everyone's going to, people are focused on what they're focused on. One of the important things is to choose to be with people who value and celebrate the things that are coming from inside of us. And that if we take that away from ourselves, we're going to feel broken, because we will be broken. We need to, again, go towards the wholeness, and nobody can tell us what that looks like, because we have to create that for ourselves. So to answer your question, if somebody is depending on you to make money, for example, and you've decided and determined that that's one of the things you are going to do, then we just have to be realistic. Then maybe, what is going to make the money, what isn't, and balance that all out. Many of us have talents that we're not going to monetize, but we're still going to have them in our lives because our lives may not be worth living otherwise. Like we have to balance this. We have to bring a lot of hard work to building our lives, which reminds me, I wanted to share something with you. So of course we had the sad news that Naomi Judd opted out of life, and she's been struggling very, very hard a lot of her life. And this is what in an essay that her daughter wrote, Ashley Judd wrote. I was very struck by this. This is what she said. My mama was a legend. She was an artist and a storyteller, but she had to fight like hell to overcome the hand she was dealt, to earn her place in history. She shouldn't have had to fight that hard to share her gifts with the world. That sentence got me. She shouldn't have had to fight that hard to share her gifts with the world. It is very disheartening when we have a gift, monetizing or not monetizing, right? I'm not talking about that right now. And there's nobody to receive it. That is devastating. That tells us what? That we don't matter. And who would choose a life to not matter? So the point is, though, that we have to create that. And eventually, we talked about this last week, I think, or maybe we didn't. I don't think I did tell you this story. Let's do it. Do we have time for a quick story?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's this tale that's told of a Chinese lady who's walking down a path, and she's holding 2 pails on her shoulder. And one pail, they're to fill their water pails. One pail is whole and one pail is cracked. And day after day, she's walking down the path, and finally the broken pail, who's leaking water all the time, just is totally broken and says, I can't take the fact that I'm so cracked. I apologize to you, the burden it puts on you, and I can't take it anymore. And this woman points to the flowers along the path and says, do you see these flowers? You are the reason these flowers adorn the road, because you thought you were cracked. But do you know what came through your cracks? The water to water this beauty. So mattering is about, perhaps this is not my final definition, but it's about let the cracks happen. That's where the light is. Leonard Cohen said that. That's where the light is. Let the light in between the cracks. Mattering has a lot to do with that.
I'm taking it all in. The words of Naomi Judd's daughter was just beautiful. And I agree 100%. Amanda said she felt that too, of it, we should not have to fight so hard to matter. Why do you think we do fight so hard? Is it just that we were missing that mattering? We're missing that mattering, or what? Why do we fight? Why do we feel like we have to fight so hard, Shifra?
I think it is a very individual. There's an individual answer and there is a collective answer, right? The individual answer that I gave is about my story, how it all happened for me. I have to tell you that I see some people not fighting so hard, and maybe they just feel that they're given their mattering for whatever reason more easily. Maybe people appreciate more readily what they have to offer. I just want to say, I don't think anybody gets a pass forever on feeling that they matter to everybody all the time for everything. That is not a possibility. So everyone has to grapple with this at some point. But, I think that it's a lot of it is societal. We talked about this last week, I think. We are told how we can matter, what we have to look like, what we have to sound like, how much money we have to have, what position we need to earn. We're given all of that as messages from our culture. So already we're fighting deep core messages the moment we open our eyes when we're born. It's just how it is. And I think that's, that's part of the fight of being human and growing into ourselves and into our divine spirits, right? I think we have to fight. We're here to work. We're here to work. That's, and I think that, by the way, I think the process has huge amounts of prizes. We say the process is the prize. And we're always focused on, well, I want that prize. I'm doing this because I want that. And at some point, somewhere along the line, we realize how fulfilled we are in a particular area with just the process, with just trying. And that is can be very fulfilling. Writing the book, right? I wrote this book, Dare to Matter, and it's fulfilling to have the book. It's 340 pages, but the process was very engaging for me also. It was very, like, in a way, I like the process better than that. Because now, where do I go now? I don't have a page to go to, right? I have to turn the page and go somewhere else. So to answer your question, it's painful, but it's illusions. We have to realize we are really smashing emotional idols. That is the work we are doing. And there are huge rewards for this. And what is the biggest joy? And when we have joy, how do we really show up into our lives? There is an energy we didn't know existed inside of us. All of a sudden, we're riding on a different currency, or on a different airwave, right? A different airspace, little less turbulence, floating, right? It's a different existence. We can't always be in that space, but we can get to that space a lot more quickly and stay there a lot longer.
I love that. I love that. Listen, you guys, we're going to take a quick break and be right back after this to finish up with Shifra on Mattering Today. We will be right back, you guys. And we're also listening to the For Love poem in Russian this morning by Olga. We'll be right back after this. Over and visit our friends at the White Scholarship Foundation. You can visit scholarshipfoundation.org. And also we thank our lovely poet, Dorothy Auger, for the For Love poem this morning, read beautifully by Olga in Russian. And thank you so much, Juju, for standing for love with us this morning. Shifra, I'm loving this topic, and I had a question for you, but it was about relationships. So, and since we are talking next week about who and what gets in the way of our mattering, I'm going to save it for next week's conversation as well. Let me know if any of you guys have any questions for Shifra this morning before we finish up the show. Do you have anything you'd like to leave us with today, Shifra?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the comments as well. Any comments? Don't shy away from the struggle. We don't really have that choice anyway, because we have one life to live. We have one life to make it all matter, and we really don't know where our water leaking, what kind of beauty it's going to contribute to the world. We don't get to know that. We just get to live it and to believe that it's going to do its thing. Our trail is here. We don't get to see it yet, but it's here.
I love that. And I loved that story about the buckets and the cracks, and had a wonderful impromptu live with, speaking of Dorothy Auger and Darren Sprinkle over on LinkedIn. They invited me randomly to do a live with them. They were just being creative, and we were working on Darren's music, and I was singing and he was playing guitar, and we were having a good time. And he was talking about how he went and spread, he had wildflower seeds, and he just threw them. He just threw them. And now there's wildflowers everywhere. If you see wildflowers in Seattle, it was probably Darren.
The way I say it is, we never know in whose words or actions there's going to be your healing. We don't get to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Amanda, about what you just said, I needed that in that order, period. That's it. I know that everybody just has been so wonderful. Thank you all so much. And I know Juju came in and joined us this morning. Good morning, Juju. It's good to see you today. Anne Marie, thank you for joining us this morning as well. And Donnell, I appreciate all of you giving us feedback throughout the episode as well. It's very helpful for both Shifra and I as we go through the episode. And I'm excited next week, Shifra, to figure out what gets in the way, because this is going to be important, I think.
Excited. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Well, you guys, we have some amazing things coming up on the Breakthrough Show Network this week, which I'm excited about. Of course, we will be continuing our May series throughout this month: Mattering, Empowerment, Professional Freedom, Leadership, Self-Mastery. We have lots of amazing things going on. If you missed any of the episodes from last week, you can always go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/C/The Breakthrough Show, and always catch up on the episodes there or at thebreakthroughshow.com. We also have coming up tomorrow, we are continuing our empowerment series with Laura Mazzata, and tomorrow will be professional empowerment. Really excited about that. Also, we have Money Matters with Carol coming up tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Always good to dive into these mindset pieces that we have going on about our money and finances. Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Central time, 7 p.m. Eastern, we have Divine DNA with the Jacksons, diving into relationships. And then on Friday, we are heading to the Netherlands with Vivian Aqua. It's going to be an amazing part of our Breakthroughs Around the World series, 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. So don't miss that. Lots of amazing things going on. And we have to do birthdays this morning. Do you know anybody that has a birthday today, Shifra?
Today, I don't.
Today, Nicole.
Yeah.
We missed a couple birthdays on Saturday. So one of our Breakthrough alumni, Adam Chaim, had a birthday on Saturday. And also my friend Yanni Ransom had a birthday. And then today, my friend Nicole Cox has a birthday. In the celebrity world, actress Amy Hill, actress Rosario Dawson, Dave Gahan. You guys remember the band Depeche Mode? Anybody? Anyone? Has a birthday today. And also one of my favorite singers, songwriters, Billy Joel, has a birthday today. So happy birthday, Billy Joel. All right, here we go. We're going to do our birthday song. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nicole Cox, Adam Chaim, Yanni Ransom, Billy Joel, Rosario Dawson, Dave Grohl, and Amy Hill. Happy birthday to you. Yes. Happy birthday to everybody celebrating today. We really appreciate you and hope you have an amazing day. Shifra, thank you so much for being with us again today. It was fabulous.
Thank you, Jessica. I enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to next week as well.
Thank you. Me too. Me too. Thank all of you for watching or listening wherever you are in the world today. I appreciate all of you who interacted with us live today. And I, of course, will be catching all of you that are on the replay as well. I appreciate you all for being here. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I want to remind you to make joy a priority in your life today and every day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.